Folks, I hope you got your flapjacks ready because we're about to enter into a crazy week in the market this week. There's so much going on. I think, as we all know, we have been in basically a market correction crash, whatever you want to call it. It's been awful in the market lately. Everybody's been feeling the pain. It's been no bueno out there, right? Unless you're a short seller, you've probably been loving this over the last couple months. But nonetheless, this week is so dang big for the market. And I want to explain everything that's going on here. And, if you're hoping, around a flip in the market, you definitely have some stuff here that I want to explain in this video that is, pretty good stuff. Okay. So I hope you guys enjoy this. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. If you want to access the best learning platform out there, we can teach you how to do basically just about everything in the stock market. So check out pinned comment down there if you want to learn that and apply for that program. Okay. So first place I want to start out here, new 52-week highs. This is for the New York Stock Exchange. In the entire New York Stock Exchange, we had 11 stocks at new 52-week highs. We had 542 stocks hit 52-week lows, okay? That is nothing short of extraordinary. The amount of stocks just hitting new low, and for us that are really, really in the market, right? That are stock pickers and we control where our money goes and we're like, we want to buy this stock and that stock. We're fully aware of this, right? Like, it's been awful. All you see is across the board is 52-week low after 52-week low after 52-week low. Some of these stocks that went public in the past year or two, a lot of those are actually hitting all-time low after all-time low after all-time low. And there's just not a lot. It's, sometimes in the market, if you're just in a bad stock or something like that, you're like, dang, man, the market's doing so well. But yeah, nonetheless, like, pretty much everything's been devastated. Now, that's the New York Stock Exchange. What about the NASDAQ? Because we know the NASDAQ's been hit extra hard. Well, let's take a peek at the NASDAQ. Get ready for this one, okay? The NASDAQ, 24 stocks, new 52-week highs. 1,169 stocks at new 52-week lows. Oh my gosh, guys, okay? I mean, it's one thing to see, the markets are down. It's one thing to see, the market sold off this much, or we're this much off a 52-week high, and the Dow or the NASDAQ or the S&P or the Russell even. The Russell at one point last week was down over 21% from its 52-week high, which was hit literally just a couple months ago, essentially, which is an extraordinary move, and that's a big move. And that a lot of people are looking at that and they're like, dang, the Russell's really down 21+%. That's nothing. That's nothing until you really look at it like this, and you're like, there's 1,169 stocks that just hit 52-week lows and only 24 stocks that hit 52-week highs. Yeah, that's how ugly it's been in the market. That's how awful it's been in the market. It doesn't matter if it's the New York Stock Exchange. It doesn't matter if it's the NASDAQ. It doesn't matter if it's tech stocks or just about almost anything at this point has been hit in this market. Other than still we have a few of the biggest big dogs. Apple specifically has been holding things together and trying to keep the stock market afloat on its back. If it wasn't for that, the indexes would be in, oh my gosh, such a bad place. You have no... It's hard to even fathom, okay? Look at the NASDAQ for a moment, right? This is after a great day on Friday, which was driven by Apple stock. Let's be quite clear about that. It was a 3% plus day, and we're still down 12% year to date, and we're not even out of the first month of the year, okay? Now, something very important to keep in mind here, essentially, is when you have the market making this dramatic of moves down, you can end up getting a lot of bounce backs, right? Some of those are called dead cat bounces, essentially, and some of those are legit bounces that can last for several weeks or several months. Usually, how this works, essentially, right, is the market does not go down or up in a straight line. Just like if you're in a bull market, you're going to get some down days or some down weeks, maybe even some down months. And even if you're in a bear market or a troubling market like we've been in recently, you're going to get some bounce back weeks. We've had 4 straight weeks of the market being down. It's not sustainable. That can only last so long. And then all of a sudden you get a bounce back week or several bounce back weeks, or you get a bounce back month or two. Then the bigger question after that, what is the bigger question that comes after that? Well, are you out of the woods, essentially? Are you in a situation where now it just continues to get better over the coming months, or is that just like a little short term, we went up for a couple of weeks and now we're going right back down, right? And that's a big question we'll talk about. So there's a lot going on this week. First off here, huge week for earnings. I mean, last week was massive. This week that we're about to get into is massive. Next week's also crazy big, okay? And basically, what you have is, a lot of the larger cap stocks started to report last week. And what we're going to get into over the next several weeks is the rest of the large caps, but then you start getting into continuing the small cap stocks. A lot of the small cap stocks are planning on reporting the first 2 weeks of February, essentially. So be ready for small caps left and right. And if you own a lot of small cap stocks, which certainly I've been buying into small caps very heavily the last several months. So a lot of my stocks are reporting either next week or the week after, essentially, right? But in terms of this week, you have so many companies that are going to move the entire market. NXP, semiconductor, huge semiconductor company that's going to move things. Cirrus Logic, cruisy doozy. They get about 80% of their business roughly from Apple. And so whatever Cirrus has to say, it can move not just Cirrus, but it can move semiconductor stocks in general. And it could actually move Apple stock if they had something troubling. Because here's the thing, Apple, they don't give guidance for the upcoming quarter. They said, Tim Cook said, kind of the vibes were like, things are looking pretty good, but he didn't get into specific numbers. Cruisy doozy, on the other hand, if you want to get a little insight on what's really going on with Apple for the next quarter, look at Cirrus Logic's earnings and listen to the earnings conference call on the Hungry Bowl app, which is absolutely free to use, and you can type it in and you'll be able to listen to their conference call right inside our free app. But essentially, cruisy doozy will give you an idea of what Apple's really truly looking at, okay? Then you got ExxonMobil, the biggest oil and gas giant out there, reporting before the bell Tuesday. You want to know how the economy is doing? Look at UPS numbers. Global company, shipping products all over the place, logistics all over the place. Like UPS, if you really want to understand, if you're at all scared about a recession, or if you're worried at all about the economy, listen to what UPS has to say on their conference call. They might not say much in their earnings, basically their press release, but listen to UPS's earnings call and you'll be able to get to a lot of dang info out of that. Like I said, the Hungry Bowl app, we basically make it easy and free for you to listen to earnings call right inside the app. You don't have to search around where the heck is this earnings call and whatnot, okay? AMD's reporting after the close Tuesday. That's AMD's become a big company now. Huge market cap on that one. PayPal. So PayPal's interesting. If this baby drops for whatever reason, which I don't think it is, it's probably going up on earnings, but if it drops, I'm stepping in. Like, there's no way I can continue to stay on the sideline with PayPal. It's been right around a 52-week low recently. And if that stock got hit harder, this is PayPal, this is Venmo, and Venmo's got that deal coming with Amazon. Like, I can't sit on the sideline if that baby drops in any meaningful way. That would be the point where I'm like, okay, I'm done. PayPal, we're starting to buy you now, okay? Google McDougal reporting after the close. Google's one of the biggest market caps in the entire stock market. That will move the NASDAQ on Wednesday, essentially. PayPal and Google will both move it, but specifically Google, because Google's just such a massive, or Alphabet as we call it, it's just such a massive, massive market cap. You have GM reporting. That'll be interesting to hear, really more on the supply chain front. You have Starbucks reporting, which is a gigantic market cap. That can likely move all the fast food stocks on Wednesday, depending upon what they have to say. You're going to likely hear them talk about they have cost pressures. You're going to likely hear them talk about they have labor pressures. You're going to likely talk about them talking about wages are going up and those sorts of things. So be ready for that one. Electronics Arts, don't be surprised if that's kind of that type of earnings, essentially when it comes to Electronic Arts. I wouldn't expect much. I have very low expectations. MicroStrategy, it's not good at MicroStrategy right now, if you didn't know. They've loaded up, they've levered up, they've done everything they could to buy as much Bitcoin as possible. Obviously, Bitcoin hasn't been in the healthiest place recently. So, there's kind of that going on, right? Then before the open, you have D.R. Horton, which is the lowest end housing builder you can pretty much find out there in the stock market. I think it's one to just kind of pay attention to. Waste management, solid as solid comes. It doesn't matter what the economic time is. People need their trash taken out, okay? Capri Holdings, that should be an interesting one. Capri Holdings owns several very popular, I would call them almost semi-luxury brands, essentially. And so if you want to gauge the consumer a little bit and what they're willing to spend out there, listen to that conference call. What's the guidance like for Capri Holdings? I think that one's going to be very, very important. After the close, if you're wondering what the heck is Meta, that is good old FB, okay? Facebook. So if you're talking about what's going to move the market on Thursday, it's going to be Facebook, okay? Facebook earnings are coming out. So obviously we know Facebook always going to put up good numbers. The thing for Facebook is how good of numbers does this company put up? Or we've been talking recently about, ad rates haven't been the healthiest on Google, at least from what we've seen as creators recently on YouTube platform. Is that at all affecting Facebook for their upcoming earnings or something like that? Now, here's the thing. Alphabet is reporting the day before Facebook. So Facebook, if Alphabet has any bad news, Facebook stock could end up getting hit Wednesday. And that could de-risk Facebook essentially going into the earnings. Now, if Alphabet has a lot of good news, then we know Facebook earnings are likely going to be good as well. But if Alphabet has something bad to say on this earnings, don't be surprised if Facebook pulls down big time, because a lot of times what ends up happening is those two kind of run hand in hand. If ad rates are great for Google, it's more than likely great for Facebook. If it's like, we got some trouble, advertisers aren't spending as much or they're not paying as much for the auctions and whatnot, then all of a sudden, you can end up in a situation where Facebook ends up dropping. Qualcomm's one of the biggest semiconductor companies in the world. Very important one to listen to there. Spotify, not too interesting. T-Mobile's just solid. Nothing really to say about that. Century Communities, kind of in with the D.R. Horton, maybe a little above a D.R. Horton, but kind of in that. So another home builder to pay attention to there. Thursday. So as far as Thursday goes, not a ton I'm looking for before the bell that day. Not enough to say these companies don't matter because those are big, giant corporations. It's not really my cup of tea. Estee Lauder might be interesting to hear what they have to say about their Chinese business. After the close is when it's going down, okay? And I don't mean going down as in that sounds bad. Whenever you say it's going down in the stock market, that was just bad. I'm sorry, guys. That was a bad word choice by me, okay? But nonetheless, okay, let's hope if it goes down now, it's because I said that, all right? But essentially, after the close, Amazon, this one's in the same category as PayPal for me. If this one falls in any significant manner, I'm going to have to pick it up. Like, I'm looking at Amazon recently, and I'm like, dang, man, this stock's easy money for the next 5 years. And so if that baby falls at all in any meaningful way, which I would say not a super high probability of that, but if it does, I'm going to have to start picking up shares of Amazon. There's no way I can just keep letting that one, chill down there where it's at right now. Never mind, go down a bunch more. Say it drops $200 a share or something like that. Oh my gosh, okay. Ford's interesting to kind of pay attention to, once again, just from the supply chain front. And if they do have any guidance for this upcoming quarter or anything that they think is troubling, anything like that. You have Snapchat reporting, you have Pinterest reporting, not too interesting to me. Activision Blizzard's a big one, ATVI, and the reason being is they just essentially, Microsoft's buying out Activision Blizzard, so it'll be interesting to hear their numbers. Skyworks Solution is a company I have 6 figures in. Skyworks Solutions is a huge player in the 5G revolution, which is, started taking off last year. And, if you look at the breakdowns of iPhones or just about any 5G phone out there, you're going to find Skyworks has a lot of chips in them, so I'm expecting good earnings out of Skyworks as always. Another one that if you want to know about guidance and know about kind of how the future is looking, listen to Skyworks Solutions, because at the end of the day, these are companies that provide the chips to make the iPhones and to make iPads and all these different devices. And so those are the ones you're going to get the really good context. Apple can sometimes sugarcoat things a little bit, and they got a lot of different business lines. There's no way Cirrus Logic or Skyworks Solutions can sugarcoat. They have to just be straight up honest. And, if they're not expecting to sell as many chips, they're going to come out and say it. If they are, they're going to come out and say that as well. So that's something to kind of keep in mind there. And then Friday, not a ton going on as far as Friday goes, but nonetheless, guys, get ready for a crazy epic week of earnings. This week is actually more epic to me than last week. And that's saying a lot, because last week we had Microsoft, we had Apple, and some of those big dogs report. But this week to me is even bigger. PayPal, Google, Facebook, Qualcomm, Amazon. Yeah, it doesn't get bigger than that in my personal opinion. So this is something that, if these earnings are strong, if Google has really strong earnings, PayPal gets back on the right track, right? Let's say PayPal's bottom now. They report solid earnings. That stock goes up 6, 8, 10%. Let's say Google reports solid. Facebook reports solid. Remember, Google, Facebook haven't been high flying. Amazon's down, still like $900 a share or so from its 52-week high. These companies don't have to, they're not in a position where they have to, knock the roof off. If they just report respectable numbers, maybe slight beats and things like that, I think there's a high probability their stock prices will rise. Now, if there's a big if they come out and blow out numbers, oh my gosh, those babies are going to fly, and the stock market is going back to record highs if that scenario plays out. I'm not banking on that. I'm not placing any short-term bets on that. But if these earnings come out with huge beats, you'll see some big moves like we just saw in Apple stock where it was up 7%, right? And next thing you know, NASDAQ will basically take back everything it's lost in a matter of a snap of fingers, essentially, right? Now, this is something very interesting. This came out in December. This gentleman says, my core thesis is that money will come out of negative, real yielding cash and out of bonds aggressively in early 22, following December board asset allocation meetings. That's an analyst at Goldman Sachs Global Markets Division said that. He says, every private wealth advisor in the world is conducting year-end allocation review. This was, once again, back in December, this was put out. Meetings right now. The feedback will largely be that investors hold too much cash with rising inflation, he says, okay? Investors' cash allocation jumped 14 percentage points this month from November to a net 36% overweight, the highest cash exposure since May 2020. So here's the thing, guys. I think a lot of these folks have been waiting to see what these earnings are like, right? And obviously things got off to a horrible start. Netflix was the first company report. Stock went down 20% and everybody freaked out, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, Netflix just fell off a cliff. Is that my stock, okay? Apple saved the stock market. They saved the stock market for now. Now everybody's looking at this upcoming week. What does Google have to say? What does Facebook have to say? What does Amazon have to say? Three of the three big dogs, okay? If those three, it's not the end of the world, get ready for the market to completely flip in this situation and us just to move up in a pretty quick fashion, because all this money is just kind of waiting around, kind of looking, and like they're just kind of waiting, right? Just like Apple, right? People could have bought Apple prior to earnings, but people waited to see, what are these Apple numbers like? Oh, the great numbers? Boom. Stock goes up, $200 billion of market cap in a snap of fingers. And so now with Google, Facebook, Amazon, if those three also, Microsoft numbers are good. So we had Microsoft numbers good, Apple numbers good, right? So the two of the five big dogs have already reported good. If you get Google, Facebook, and Amazon, the other three big dogs, to all have good numbers, market's flying again. That's just bottom line with that, okay? The question is after that, like, how long does it fly for? But I can tell you that this is what everybody's been waiting for. Everybody's been scared. Everybody's like, I don't want to get in prior to earnings. I want to wait and kind of see. And then all of a sudden, if things are looking good for those companies, get ready for money to come flooding in like it's nobody's business. Like I said, when it came to Apple, they reported really good numbers and they were rewarded for that. 7% up the very next day, right? And don't be surprised if they end up catching some upgrades and the move maybe even gets accelerated a bit, especially if, once again, Google, Facebook, and Amazon report some very respectable numbers here. That's $200 billion market cap move in a matter of a day. So that just shows you how much money's kind of on the sideline waiting and looking at a stock like Apple, like, let's just hear what they have to say. Oh, it's good. Boom. Next thing you know, the baby's moving. And, if everything else holds up, next thing you know, this is also going to be at another, 52-week high again there, right? Now, this brings us to Cathie Wood. So I did a full dedicated video on this channel essentially about Cathie Wood yesterday. And, kind of what's going on with ARK and what the future holds there. And this chart, along with the dot-com bubble, has been almost lining up perfectly, right? It's been lining up pretty dang perfectly. And, the thing to keep in mind, even if you feel ARK is going lower, I don't think you can deny the fact that there's a true possibility that ARK could move up quite substantially over, the next couple months. It happened in the dot-com bubble and then it fell more, right? Now, the question is, do people feel like ARK represents another dot-com bubble? I think it shouldn't represent to that extent because that was a whole different situation. I think a lot of ARK stocks got very, very overvalued and overpriced. And most of them are unprofitable companies or what we would call super high PE companies. So obviously in a risk-off market like we've been in, yeah, those are going to have some trouble. But baby, I'm telling you, the market flips from risk on to risk off really quickly. And then we've seen that play out right in front of our eyes, right? But just as quickly is the market switches from risk off to risk on. And if all of a sudden, you get some good earnings coming out here from these big dogs, money's coming flooding in. And next thing you know, you're at new 52-week highs for the indexes. And you're like, oh yeah, remember when January was the worst January ever? And now all of a sudden it's like, it wasn't even, now all of a sudden all those losses we had in January is all of a sudden recovered in February. That's how quickly things can really turn around. And so I think this is very important to remember that even if you feel ARK and ARK stocks are going lower, which a lot of them have already fallen to dramatic lows, like a lot of those stocks are down 50, 60, 70, 80% from their 52-week highs. Even if you feel like they're going lower over the next year, Don't be surprised if there's a huge move up, for a month or two in ARK and a lot of those ARK stocks. So that's something very important to kind of remember there. As far as me personally, I'm going to the beach. I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm not going to the beach. But as far as me personally, what am I doing this upcoming week? I'm likely going to take a step back from buying. I've been buying so heavily, so much, so fast. So this week, I'm probably just going to focus most of my attention just on all these earnings coming out. Like I said, I'm going to be ready if PayPal goes down in any meaningful way. I'll be ready to buy that one. If Amazon moves down in any meaningful way, I'll be ready to buy that one. If the market crashes a ton more and it's a dramatic week and there's capitulation like what happened last week, I'll be ready to buy. I would say it's probably not too likely outside of horrible news from Google, Facebook, and Amazon. As long as those babies hold up, the market can easily kind of flip the other way. I will probably make some option moves. I've been, I haven't made my January 2024 option moves yet. So I'm going to probably be in the market buying 2024 calls likely this week. And outside of that, I'm probably going to just be chilling a little bit this week, guys. So anyways, hope you enjoyed today's video. As always, if you want to learn exactly how to research stocks, read financial statements on the highest level possible, be part of our Discord chat, our private Discord chat with over 500 six-figure investors, 100 plus seven-figure investors. You want to apply for that? Check out pinned comment down there. Don't forget to subscribe. And thanks for watching. Have a great day.